Welcome to Non-Judgmental, brought to you by Being Seen and the Prime State.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast Non-Judgmental, sponsored by Being Seen and the Prime State. Today, I have a wonderful guest joining us, Dr. Azra, who is specialist into career counseling and also in relationships. And she has been into this field for more than 18 years. Welcome to the podcast, ma'am.
Thank you, Ankush, for inviting me to your podcast. I was very enthused about it. Though being a clinical psychologist, I meet every day clients who are there from different backgrounds. But relationship is my area where I enjoy the most, healing the people, helping them, supporting them. So I'm a relationship expert, apart from being a psychologist and a therapist. And yes, a career counselor also. But this topic that we are going to explore together is about relationship, love, infatuation, attraction, and emotion interchangeably used.
Wonderful, ma'am. I'm super excited. I just want the audience to know that we did record this episode yesterday, but due to the technical glitches from my end, we are recording it again today. So thank you, Dr. Azra, for being so patient and accepting it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. We are learners. We should not forget it. So every moment is a learning experience. So I would like to begin with my favorite quote, that is of Jiddu Krishnamurti. The moment you have in your heart this extraordinary thing called love, feel the depth, the delight, the ecstasy of it, you will discover that for you, the world is transformed. This is a wonderful quote. Almost every religion has a mandatory commandment about love your neighbors, fellow men. Still, why is it difficult to carry out? Why do you find this love, the very term, so complex, though it is simple? It's so true to each one of us.
I'm not sure if we humans are capable of loving each and everybody, but I guess there are certain norms and conditions that we have built around love that, only if the terms and conditions fit in, only then we'll be able to love XYZ person. I guess that's the major reason why, honestly speaking, I don't think I'm capable enough to love each and everybody out there, because it needs to be reciprocated the same way, or maybe the person has to be in a certain way. That's what I was saying you, right? We have developed those things in our head that if it is in so way, only then I'll be able to express my love or be in love with that person.
Yes. This is your experience of love, your perception of love. But what is love? In love, necessarily, do we have expectations in love? What is the difference between love and attachment? What happens to us when we have expectations? It's very natural and normal to have expectations, as you have said. Is love free from any pattern? Because I feel that there is a thin line between love, attachment, and emotional dependence. In attachment, there is emotional dependence when you are attached to someone. And love is even beyond, it is so independent. There is a lot of freedom in love, that even love is free from the person or the object that you love. From that, free of the response, whether that person loves you or not. So there is freedom in love. But in attachment, which is often used, and there are a lot of theories about attachment, modern psychologists say that, and again, as John Bowlby says, and there are 4 types of attachments which are found in adults also, which is dependent on the early development that has happened in their lives. It is secure attachment, organized attachment, ambivalent attachment, and lastly, the avoidant attachment. If the early caregivers are too loving and caring the child, then develops a secure attachment, where there is a sense of security, confidence in the relationship, and this affects the self-esteem also. Then in ambivalent, there is a craving for love, but there is also a kind of clinging towards the caretaker. There is too much possessiveness and you cling to that person. And later on also in the adulthood, you tend to expect the same from your partner, your beloved, or your husband or wife. Then there is disorganized. There's you're not detached, but at the same time, sometimes there is a lot of resistance also. There's an opposition defined for the person whom you love. And the last one is avoidance, complete avoidance and detachment. Because we all are social human beings, have this need for affiliation, need for belonging, need to relate to people. And we all need love, not only for ourselves to get love, but we also have an innate need to love others. And that need is also very important, to love others. I think this is the highest capacity, at most highest capacity of human being, is to love others. It's different between TV and other machines and robots. Okay, yes, nowadays they have built robots also, those who have emotions, artificial intelligence, security. Now my question, is there a thing like security? In love, do we really seek security? Seeking security is not love. When you are seeking anything from the person, there's a lot of freedom in love. Love is completely independent of the person whom you love. I also feel, I have the feeling that I also love my daughter. Now, today is her birthday, 20th of November. She's in Thailand, enjoying her birthday with her friends. But I am happy that she is happy. I saw pics on Instagram and Facebook. Now, if I start feeling like, why she's in Thailand? Why did she go to Thailand? Why not with her parents? Every year we have done so much for a child. But then is it attachment or love? And this is not love. Love is always free from that. If you see the big seashell smiling, having fun at the beaches, enjoying partying at night, you feel so happy about her. She is happy and you are happy. It is not dependent on whether she is with you or not. The moment the attachment empowers, I'm not saying there's no attachment. When the attachment overpowers love, then you start feeling insecure. You start feeling she should be with the family. Why did she go there? All the family is here in India and she's in Thailand. But this is, see that. What is love? The difference between love and attachment is the person is happy and you are happy. Whether this person is with you or not, the physical proximity also doesn't matter. When you hear something about the flight is delayed or something has happened, immediately your concern is there out of love. So you are concerned about the security and other things. But that is out of concern for that person. Love happens. Love is complicated and confused because we include in it, when we talk about the romantic kind of love, when we talk about the love that is exclusive in terms of the opposite or the similar sex, or the love where some kind of romanticism is involved, or the physical aspect of love, how can it be different? Let us explore about it. How is it different from the love? Is love something that we do? It's a part of our activity, or it is the state of being? Is it an action that is to be learned?
Yes, I wanted to understand more. Like you did mention, first of all, convey my wishes to your daughter for her birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You made it so clear that there is a difference when the attachment overpowers love. That is when insecurity comes into the picture.
Yes.
The attachment issues start. Now, I really want to understand, why is that today's generation is more insecure about their partner or insecure in the relationships? Or is there any sort of fear of commitment also? We have seen that there's a lot of fear in committing also. Why do you think is this more, it's more visible and more happening in today's generation than it was in earlier generations?
It happened earlier also. I would not say that these things were not happening. Only thing is, because of the cultural, you to call it pause or other things, here people used to suppress these feelings. And it's because of the role expectations of a female. They have a different kind of expectations. For the male, it was expected that a female will have to be patient and tolerant, accepting when he was cheating or not be committed and loyal to them. So this was a normal thing. And then with the passage of time, sometimes it worked also. But nowadays, people are more open to their experiences, more stronger. The roles have changed. The females have evolved in terms of their role, the functions, and they are more open. The same thing has happened with men also. They are more exposed. I will not use the term as female as such only. It's a general evolution has occurred. They have, but at the same time, we are knowing about it more because they are questioning. So the conformity is not essentially a criteria for commitment. I also feel, because you are suffocated, you are trying to surrender, submit, suppress, and it is manifested in some other ways. Still, in way you handle relationships, your grudges are there inside. But now I think the one thing has changed is there are more openness and they're questioning. There is non-conformity. There is non-conformity, still there can be love, with the parents or with the mate also. Now, people are not used to this pattern because there are socially desirable set of, which we all have seen in our families, our elders. So the younger generation, some of them are comparing that with them and they feel it. My mother has been behaving like this. Girls compare them to the father. Father is the first one in the life of a girl.
Yeah.
So there is a comparison also. consciously, sometimes unconsciously. Also, there are conditioning, the way we have been brought up, the things that have been gone, it's still there. Earlier, people were not very expressive. Girls, ladies were also not very, even men were not. Why only we ladies? Both in terms of humanity. So, they are not very expressive, and it was considered like to be shy is a positive fact. To be shy and not expressive is something named. It is a very positive thing. Look at it. Oh, how can you say that? But now it is expected that you're not expressing. You don't know how you have to express. Even parents, some of them were on a higher platform, being too authoritative and should not express my love for my children. So now there is more expression. Still, because of this confusion of the dealing with the generation gap and other things. So there is not able to take responsibility. Also because what is happening in their own, they see their parents behaving, see other people, the marriage is failing. So that is the childhood trauma also has an impact on their relationship with their mates and spouses. And then the questioning, I think the positive part of this is the questioning and unconfirming is often perceived as this change is happening. And this change, to embrace the change, we are not able to embrace the change. There are questions. We think that what is happening to this new generation, they're not able to understand. Actually, they want to explore. They want to learn. Let them learn. I think conflict occurs because when we interfere in their lives, they will learn from their mistakes to have their own way. That is why we start blaming that this is happening.
And I also want to understand, is it love, like when we cheat on our partners? Is it still considered being betrayal to my partner?
A lot of things can happen. See, we have made a prejudice that a person who is looking at or talking to someone else, or even can, unconsciously is getting attracted towards another person, is not committed to me. But they say that in the relationship love is as a flame without smoke. Now, how do you understand? How do you perceive that? I'm not saying commitment is not important, but giving space to each other. That's what they say now. You love, but do not fill each other's cup, but do not drink from the same cup. Also, it's like a movement of sea where you are the souls, are the two shores. So don't make not a bond of love. Love each other, but don't make a bond of love. This is also a quote I've read somewhere by Khalil Gibran. But what they say is, your question was about commitment and conformity. So how do I perceive it? Is there anything exclusive even in any relationship? See, there are people who are there in your life. You have a social life and you are committed to your wife or even a person who are you living in or your girlfriend. And you have many other people in your life who as a role, as a functional aspect, you are dealing with them, and some of them can be your friends also. You have a relation and you have a lot of people who are there in your life in so many different ways. Like in the earlier joint family, parents were not always burdened with all the emotional needs of the children. They were chacha, chachi, they were the child we used to go, we also remember. And our needs were satisfied for this, but nowadays the parents are burdened. So similarly, in a loving relationship, why one person is burdened with so many things? We are making it more and more exclusive, and this is the reason for the breakups. It's holding everything, and that person is expected not to go to any other person. The more you are relating with others, you feel insecure instead of giving space to others. But yes, some of the reasons for the people who have come to me as a psychologist and a therapist, and they have confessed that yes, I have cheated on my wife, but I still love them. It can also happen because of various reasons. I'm not supporting anything, and we are not supporting or rejecting. The very purpose, we're not going to polarize our discussion towards a particular way. So the thing is, they say sometimes people are seeking validation, both men and women. At a certain stage, you're not confident of yourself. So if someone is giving you attention somewhere in the office or somewhere else, you meet a girl, how do you relate with yourself? Right. So if you do not love yourself, you're having inferiority feelings, your self-esteem is down, you have a person whom you love, but still other person is giving you attention because you are not confident. You are dependent on that person because that person is praising you, is showing you some kind of care which you are not getting otherwise. You get attracted towards that just to seek the validation. In that process, it is also possible that person become impulsive and flow with the current. Then you realize later that no, I have cheated on my wife, I'm feeling guilty, and they go back to that, and that relationship failed. But the wife will perceive it, of course, that this person has cheated on me, not realizing that what is going on inside the mind of that person. He's not very sure of himself. Similarly, things happen, and you can be exploited because you are not loving yourself, you're not in the right relationship with yourself. Other people can also exploit you because of this. When you see your flaws of this, they understand that, okay, he's feeling inferior. So if you want to take advantage of that, this can also happen. So this could be one reason. Let's not generalize it. Psychology. There are some flaws which we can work on. If they say you are not able to relate with people, you can work on your communication skills. But see, if my hair is curly, I want to make it straight. Why do I do this? Naturally, it's curly. So I'm just living with it. It's not, how do you accept yourself? There is an acceptance with the positive regard. Do you respect yourself? Because love is, where love is there is respect. Without respect, love cannot happen, I think. Because after, do you respect yourself? If you respect yourself, you love yourself. Then you're not angry with yourself. Then you're not honest with yourself. So if you're honest, true to yourself, then love can happen with yourself. And then that is extended towards the other person. Another thing is, a person is by nature pleasure seeking in relationship. Everyone is seeking pleasure. And after some times, a person gets bored in one relationship. So it's a monotony, and the person wants to seek adventure and something else. So we are exploring without judging people. So there are different types of people. They have their unique nature. Even it's men or women. So I've heard that there are concept of this open marriage, live-in relationships. I was reading that Kabir Bedi, and he told his wife, and they have settled down with the open marriage system, that they are in a marriage relationship, but still both of them can have their romantic partners. But one day, why it failed was, he came and shared with his wife that I'm in a relationship with Parveen Kaur, and she was set back because she was not expecting. So there are two types of things going on. There are contradictions within ourselves. For we want freedom for ourselves. Other person give me freedom, but if other person is sharing that I want freedom, then you get hurt, because what is right for you is not right for the other person. So are we clear about these things, whether it is a living relationship? Then I have read about Amrita Pritam. You also know about it. Amrita Pritam was taken, and these things are there. I'm not saying this is good, bad, wrong. And of course, she's the most respected lady because she was a great author, very sensitive about human feelings and human psychology, the kind of books she has written. A revolutionary woman. She was an unconformist. Her relationship with Sahil Ludhianvi, and then at the other time, the person whom she was living. But there are a lot of other examples also, and there are people who are in a very good relationship who are best husband and wife. Like you say that, and they're not making too many compromises to be in the relationship. There's a lot of freedom, and still they are committed. So there are various people with their unique personalities and in the unique relationship. One thing is common. If it's very important to understand, do we really love ourselves? How do I relate to myself?
And also, when we talk about emotional dependency, if supposedly XYZ person comes back to me if they have a problem in their life, or if they have mixed emotions and they don't have a good day, they do come back to me. Only then I get that attention or the validation or the amount of respect that I need it every day. Or in fact, not every day, but at least at days when I need something. So I have realized that person comes back to me only when there is a problem, or when there is some sort of negative thing happening, when it's a not good day for them. So maybe I didn't realize this. It's just I didn't know how to go about this. I was like, okay, it's only for their needs. I'll be only available for that, and then it's nothing more than that. We used to share a great bond, but I guess with time things do change. People evolve. As we spoke, right? There are various reasons. With time, as you said, nothing is static. We are not stagnant. We do change. So maybe in that time we did, I don't know where did the proximity that we were sharing just lost. Maybe that's why I feel is it a kind of emotional dependency that we could call that person is only emotionally dependent on me?
Most of the clients are coming to me, if a person is in need of any kind of emotional support or a moral support, then you watch the movement in your relationship. Watch it. If it is happening, then communication plays a very important role. You have every right and freedom to communicate to the person. See that you have shared with me just now. That see, this is happening to me in a very gentle manner, and it's not about relationship. I feel that you only come to me when there is a need. But as kids, I need you also at other times. It's also your expectations. You shared about your expectations. Sometimes you're not there or see you. It's another thing. We are not analyzing this relationship, but that's a need, and that's what being true to yourself. You are communicating to that person. And you have communicated and you are there for support for him or her for a longer period of time. And you have seen this is happening. And even that is not affecting that person. Sometimes it happens that person is not realizing. So it's not able to recognize your emotions. But now you have made it clear that person is able to understand. Still, there's no change happening. It is kind of exploitation. I'm not saying the person is using you. But if the person is, after listening to that, is helpless, saying that, I don't know, because of some reason, I'm not able to make it, or I have just giving her something to say about her, also a chance to tell him or her why his person is behaving as he or she is, then you can have a better understanding about, is it somewhere of there is some blocks in our own way of relating with ourselves. This could be also one of the reason, or if not, then that person is also using you. So you need to discern all these things, and you be intelligent enough to discern. Because yes, it's also true that love is not always a two-way relationship. Love is, as I said, it's always a movement in relationship. But at the same time, you need to watch yourself also, because relationship is a mirror when you see yourself. Do I also really love her? I'm also seeking something. I'm also emotionally dependent on that person. I need a company, and let's accept it. Okay, it's nothing wrong in that. I need a person as a partner who is available for me. There is a compatibility, understanding, and care. Wrong in accepting that. So I am in a relationship, but I want to commit it to her. But there is still, I think we are not, both of us have their different expectations. We need to work on that. So you share, you communicate, and still if things are not happening, then this life is all about movement in relationship.
True.
Okay. So either you work on it or you watch yourself also, your own expectations. And then you have the keys with you and to discern between the emotional dependence and love and attachment. But at the same time, you have every right to have a partner who is sharing a kind of compatibility. You feel comfortable with, and it's nothing wrong. That is why people vary.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
it?
also, I want you to draw a line between why does attachment, I don't know if you've heard so many cases, but I have seen a lot of cases, maybe in movies or memes or scrolling down the social media. I've seen people, even in a certain friend groups of mine, we've seen people go back to their exes. Like they do say they've moved no matter what. Do we call it to be a love that is stuck there? Maybe one person moved out, one person outgrew the relationship, and the other person is still stuck, or do we call it attachment issue? What exactly is attachment? Because as per what I think attachment is, when even though because there's a confusion between love and attachment. Maybe you
Right.
don't love that person, but maybe you're attached to that same pattern.
Yes.
So if you
This
could
is-
differentiate.
You have moved on, and I'm there with my love for you. Many people did not marry if they were not able to. They have this one-sided relationship, one-sided love, and they were quite happier in that. But if there is even pain with that, then you are stuck in a pattern, and you are comparing that person with other people in your life. But you are comparing with the past, and you are not able to move on. So when there is pain, that means you are seeking something which is a pleasure which you are not getting out of it. So then it is a attachment where you have rightly said that you're stuck in a pattern and you're not able to move on. Maybe if it also happens surprisingly, the ego plays a very interesting role.
Oh.
You have said that it's too much. I think very gracefully we need to move on. If you have said this, you are happy because you have taken the decision. But if the other person has said this to you, there's a mixed feeling of rejection also in that person was also not happy in the relationship. Both were thinking about it. But you have said, why didn't I leave? So you take it as rejection, you feel bad. You were also not in a position to carry on the relationship. It's for you. So this also happens. This is one of the reasons also. And another thing is, you are not able to move on also requires energy and die to the moment, out to the past. So to die to the past is also not easy for some people because they're so dependent. And still they're not happy in that relationship. So if they're happy and the other person has moved on, you're not, then it could be love. You love that person.
Right.
You are free from whether that person loves you or not. You are happy for that person. You are happy because that person is happy. Now my question is, yes,
I want to understand. You just mentioned that when there is love, when there is pain when you move on, I have
Yes.
never seen anybody experience joy when they break up. What kind of pain were you referring to when you just said when you move on or when you outgrow yourself from a relationship? The pain that you just mentioned, what exactly that pain refers to here? Because honestly, when you love a person, or maybe you just decided mutually, or the other person wants to part ways, I believe it might take some time to part ways, but I have never seen person like they might love that person, but from far. I'm very good at loving people from far. Those who are there, if once mutually or whether you or I decide to part ways, irrespective whether it's your friendship or relations or the romantic relations, the friendships, or anybody from my family, when I decide to move away from that person, maybe for XYZ reason, I will still not have hate towards you that you did this to me or there was some conflict that happened. But at the same time, I will just love you from far. I'll make sure that you're not in the close proximity because later on the things might get complicated for both of us. So it's usually that I am very good at loving people from far. Ki bhai to theek hai, udhar hi, bas. It's okay. You're happy. Wonderful. You're doing good for your life. Good. Great. I'm happy for you. But please stay at the proximity. Like be away from being in my vicinity. I really want to understand because I do feel bad when there is some sort of part ways happen, irrespective of what bond you share. What
Yes.
kind of pain were you referring to?
Yes. There is this avoidance can be when you avoid a person. I think facing is more important, facing the pain, because you are becoming somewhere defensive. Defensive, you're threatened by what will happen if I face up. Because that love is, or that attachment is there inside you, and it is, you have somewhere you have curbed your impulse. It is still there. So it is suppression. We are talking about it, if there is something happening that you have to move on in relationship, let's face the pain. Of course, there is pain because we are emotional people, we are attached and we also love. So the attachment is empowering because of something is going, there is a severing that of the ties. Instead of facing it as it is, not working on it, not operating on the system, just leaving it as it is, even that you're facing, suppose if you're living in a college, you have a breakup with the girl you are studying with. How will you run away from her? Every day she will be in the same class. For you to maintain a distance when it's a virtual or something like that. But in a college, how can you maintain a distance? Every day you will see her in the class. Maybe so tomorrow she will move. She has moved on and she will be with some other boy. So how can you run? You change your college in the final year. Oh,
No.
you have to face it. So where there is no option, you're facing it. And you see what happens to you. It's not as bad as you are apprehend. You apprehend that it will be like that. Oh, may I have to come in. I don't know. How can I face this? I was to face it. Every experience, as I've shared, that you need to, it will blossom like a flower. A flower. Either it's a good experience or a painful experience. The flower will blossom and all the petals will wither with the flower. That is a part of nature. Nature, there is a dry leaves fall down. There's movement, lot of movement happening in nature. There's tremendous order in nature, and if you observe. So,
Yeah.
and there is every year the leaves are shedding and new leaves are coming. Then what happens if you see that it's a painful experience, you're watching it, facing it, and without any external help. It's very easy for you. I can't face this. I also need a girlfriend to support me. I need someone to support me. I can't see her with any other person. Every day I'm facing this. That also is not love. Your escape. It's escape. It's escape. So if you see that being alone, facing the challenge, give a pause. Of course, you will get other options also. Then you will learn about yourself. You become more stronger. And after that, when the turmoil is passed away and you see, then there's no residue left in you. You can watch it. It's very interesting. It's beautiful. Then there is no residue left in you. And then you are ready for another relationship. Then you have absolutely moved on. But we do not do this. Immediately, it's so painful. You immediately jump into another relationship and then into another relationship and then into another. Because I am not able to relate with myself first.
Right.
It's very important. A person who can be alone. This is there's a paradox, or you can say this is ironical. The person who learned to be alone, not lonely, can be the best in relationship. Because
True.
they say that love is a flame without smoke. There's no smoke of possessiveness, emotional dependence, jealousy, competition, ambition in relationship. So it's a flame without smoke.
When you mentioned people escape from one relation to another just to suppress the feelings and emotions and the pain, maybe
Yes.
just to comfort themselves of what they were getting just from another person. everything in my head was going about the people I have known who have been, being escaping all around the
Yes.
place. And I also have this strong feeling. I can realize, I could sense when you just said, when there is love is without smoke, there is no possessiveness, there is no emotional dependency, there is no
Yes.
insecurity. I could relate to my parents' bond with each other, because all the time my mom now I realize that she gives space to my father, and he does give. If they don't feel like talking to each other, they don't talk for a couple of days, but then they come back again together. So now I can completely understand what actually love for each other is. Now, because I believe today's generation, whether we have had bad experiences or whether we had good, irrespective of what sort of particularly if it is a bad experience, I've seen people of my generation, of my age, people tend to build themselves strong enough that they will never allow anybody to be they don't want to show their emotions, and they don't want to have an emotional connect with anybody for that matter, because they might have had a couple of bad experiences, whether it's their friendships or their relationships. Do you think is that also a reason why we face a lot of trouble in maintaining a relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have to be open to experiences, be vulnerable, be open. Of getting hurt, we are afraid of rejections. I love that person. If the person, then I feel abandonment, the fear of abandonment, fear of being rejected is always. So the mind is stepping. Love is something that happens with an empty mind. The thought distorts everything. Thinking comes in between. So that very thought, if you see something, you fall in love, you're seeing a beautiful sunset. Nothing is there in your mind. It's just a sunset. See the sunset. You and the sunset are the same. There's no division between you and the sunset. But then suddenly thought steps in and you wanted to have it again and again. Then you are seeking pleasure. It's also in good experiences. What happens is we try to hold on to that and we want it again the next day. We have come with the same expectation. The next day it doesn't happen. We have photographs and all that. We want to hold on to the pleasure memories to recall it. So that also is a source of suffering somewhere, because love is something which is fresh, full of joy. So dying to every moment. So if you're not thinking, what happens if you not think about that person you may love? You said, how can you not think? You think that it's a mandatory, it's a part of my duty to think all the time. Why? Even if a mother, and of course I have a duty and responsibility, I have other works to do. But that I never forget that I'm a mother. I'm sitting here for an hour and more than one. And I know my responsibility. Why is it important to think? I asked this question to one of my students who came to me for counseling. I'm so feeling like jumping from the staircase. I'm just feeling committing suicide. And so this kind of emotional dependent is there. There's no security in this relationship. Because there are some relationships you feel secure. Why? He said, yes, with you also and with some of my friends. When I come, I know. But do you think about me? I said. He said, no, I know. But when I come to see, when I need help, I know that it's okay. Azra is there, so I'll go to her. So we do not think about each other. That is the beauty of the relationship, isn't it? The expectations of such. Of course, I'm there. I also feel happy to see you. And then we forget. We do our other things. Why can't this happen? Why can't I have a simple relationship with each other? Why there is a lot of unrealistic expectation? That is a cognitive dysfunctional structure of mind, I would say, irrational. That I have to be available all the time for the person whom I love. Time if she calls me, I have to pick up the phone. No, now, if someone very close to me calls me, I'm not unable to pick up the phone. A person may call me twice or thrice or 4 times because of anxiety, 10 times. And then what has happened to her? She's being so disrespectful. She's not picking up the phone. And is not aware that I'm having a podcast show, recording for the podcast. That things happening. Why do we have such unrealistic expectation? And this has happened. One of a client of mine was even trying to commit suicide. Just cut his hand. Fortunately, nothing has happened. It was just a small cut. And not even blood came out. But because the boyfriend did not pick up the phone for several hours, came to know that later his mobile it fell down and it was not working. And he had to take it to the center to get it done properly. However, you're not aware and you're assuming and apprehending. These are all symbols, signs of emotional dependence. That you are seeking emotional dependence, then it's a warning signs. You have to be aware about yourself. That you have to love yourself. You have to really know about that. This is a mirror of the relationship, telling a lot about your own needs, your own insecurities, your own fears that need to be resolved.
That's so. accurate when you just mentioned that we ourselves have so much baggage that we carry. We carry so much baggage of our own. And I guess Katrina Kaif was saying this. When we love a person, that baggage is given to that person. That it is your duty to make me happy. It is your duty to give me. Why are we bounding the other person with responsibilities and duties? Why are we making it so complex with our emotions? Definitely, there has to be a trust. There has to be loyal. You both have to feel the same way. Maybe with
Yes.
time things will be better, or if it is getting worse, you can realize it on your own. Seek help if you need, and then maybe you can decide what is good for you. Why
Yes.
is it? Why you make the other person accountable and responsible for not
Yes.
making you happy and not taking those XYZ efforts for you? And now that you have told me this, I do realize I'm not saying I'm very doodh ka dhula person, but maybe
Okay,
I
none
might
of
have
us.
heard, yeah, I might have heard somebody or unintentionally or intentionally. But yes, I do practice a lot of communication about what I feel and how I feel. If I get a clarity, wonderful. If not, I've stopped assuming things. Initially, my head used to go 24/7 around the clock. Overthinking was on its peak. Touch wood, it's been around a year or year and a half that I won't say I don't overthink, but now I know how to manage my overthink. So before we get to the end, I want you to give some tips to maintain a healthy relationship.
Some very important part of a relationship is, I think, first is communication. And communication is, how do you communicate in relationship? Active listening is very important. All of us have this habit of sharing our own things and want other person to understand. Now, what do we mean by active listening? We're listening with the whole being, without any preconceived notion of what that person is, where is it coming from? Now he's going to say this, he's going to just listening with the empty mind, with your own being, without judging that person, without having an anticipation of what he is going to speak. Just listen. So this listening aids in understanding. When there is no prejudice, when there is no preconceived notion, you are just listening to that person, what the person is saying.
Right.
Another thing is, then, apart from listening, then how do you share your feelings? Even if you're upset, if you're angry, do you share in others' right way without becoming aggressive? And also in a communication, it's very important to be sensitive to the diversity. People have different viewpoints. Without withdrawing your compassion, can you just allow that person to have a truth which is completely, entirely different of your truth? And you're not withdrawing your own compassion. But this happens even with parents and child. Are you able to listen to him, at least what he or she is saying? So we immediately, it appears that we love them from inside. Maybe it's a partner or a lover or a parent. But it appears to them that we do not love. So we withdraw that compassion, and we are threatened immediately as someone says something which is a threat to our own convictions and beliefs.
Right.
Let's not hold on very rigid with our beliefs and convictions. This is also very important in communication. So the heart of communication and listening is, we have a very flexible, yet we have some boundaries there, but be feasible and flexible. Maybe why do we always think that I am right all the time? Maybe understanding things from others' point of view is also very important. Another thing is setting respect. It's very important to have mutual respect. Love cannot happen without respect. Of course, sometimes we do respect people who do not love, but respect is very important. It comes out of love. So it's, I think, essential. Mutual respect, and with mutual respect, there is setting boundaries in relationship. It's also very important. Setting boundaries in relationship with its and the healthy boundaries, I would say. And also see that there is growth, self-growth happening. Like two trees, if you see that they are growing, can they grow together? You give a space, so both grow in their own pace. But see, they are separate, but the roots are joined. You know that. The roots are together. You can see, so under the soil. That's a beautiful example if you watch the nature and flora and fauna. See how there's tremendous order, and there's a lot to learn from nature if you are observant. That they are joining their roots, but they are separate because they are their own. So they need space to grow, and at the time they are. So this is interesting. There is a space between us. There's no your space or my space. Of course, there is space where we both need to grow, and then at the same time we are joining hands. And also, sometimes we may compromise the sacrifice, my duty, my responsibility. Never comes. You do out of love, out of your love for that person. So the thought never comes that I'm doing it, and I express it again and again. Every time I do it, you are not doing it. If I really love, this will not come. Never mind. Okay. Another thing is that, of course, out of high expectations, it comes to the functions. It is a domestic or it's a social function, an office or organization where you're working or anywhere. You similarly at home also there are implicit norms. It's not as explicit as we have in the offices. So you have to communicate it very clearly. I was expecting that you will inform me, but you didn't inform where did you go at night. I was also worried about you. It could be happen any mishap or something. So very gently, it's not that, oh, I have given him freedom. The freedom doesn't mean that you can. With freedom comes responsibility. Freedom doesn't mean that freedom to do anything. If I have a freedom, I am giving you freedom. That freedom comes responsibility, which is implicit set of norms. So mother, when the child start growing, but first mother feeds the child. Child is not able to eat on its own. But after some time, if the mother can see that the dog can sit and it can eat on its own, she'll give him, okay, you eat it, I'm coming within 2 minutes.
Right.
That doesn't mean that the child will throw the food in the dustbin and see that, okay, the mother has given you freedom because now also feels that you are more responsible now. So with freedom comes responsibility. Freedom and responsibility go together. So if you are giving freedom to the other person, your responsibility is enhanced because now the other person there is a trust. So trust is very important in relationship. Sometimes I still remember, I'd like to share, Ankush, one relationship is between my father. I was a very naughty child as a daughter, the only daughter, and my brother was there. It's a family. My father was very patient, the parents, both of them. And I was in the school studying in So this was a missionary convent school where sisters were there. And some of my relatives came from their part of Ranchi and all. And surprising, they want to give me a surprise. They came to my school. Now it was the lunch time. I was so excited. I was in class 8. That time going to the school, there were a lot of restrictions. You have to inform the teacher and then you have to go and inform the principal, and at least the class teacher. The guard was not there. I just took my bag and I was out of excitement. I sat on the guard and we left. That time we did not have mobile phones. So the principal immediately called my father. He was a professor of labor and social welfare at that time. So she called him in their office. We have the basic phone. I informed the daughter is not there and she did not inform. So my father immediately understood that they were saying they will go to pick up. But he said, sorry, apologize. And said, okay, she will come to you. But she said, what happened? I was not aware. My father, when I came home, said that you could have informed. This is your responsibility to inform your principal. Okay, you are happy. You are with your relatives. Immediately he found out, came home and saw that my mother shared that they are together. Now, next day when I wake and Sister Maxima, now she's not alive, God bless her. I was really jammering and tremors were there, and what will happen? She'll call me in her office. She called me in the office. She asked me to take a seat, Azra, sit down. She was very calm. I was surprised because she was very famous for her discipline and alien attitude and authoritative. She said, Azra, I've never seen a father like that. Don't break his trust. When I said that, hey, these days girls were also, and that time also they were boyfriends. It was not a co-education school, it was a girls' convent. But girl can go and then parents blame us that, that you didn't take care of my child. My father said, no, I know my daughter, I trust her. And she has gone, but yes, I apologize. So I did say, just never break his trust. And that day was, because of the trust, I changed. I made it a habit till now also. I have this habit of informing each and every person. And no, my father is no more. 2012 he passed away. But this trust plays a very important role in your life. If you completely trust someone, this complete response of love is there. It plays an important role in the relationship.
It was so important because I believe a lot of us have a lot of problems when it comes to relationship. Right?
Yeah.
When it is relationship, because at the end of the day, I believe everybody wants that partner. They want to go back to that one person where they feel home, where they feel safe. Everybody wants that safe zone for themselves, a comfort level.
Yes.
But maybe we have so much of baggage within ourselves, maybe due to the work, personal life, everything. We take that baggage to the other person, expecting the same outcome from them as well. So this was so much needed for the audience and for me personally to actually understand what is the best way we can have a healthy relationship. Even though we have heard a lot of things, we have read a lot of things about how we maintain a healthy relationship, but we at times fail because we fail to realize what is within and what do we need. So thank you so much, Dr. Azra, for giving so much of clarity on how things have to be conducted and how do we go about it. It was so much important for us to understand what is love. Maybe it's a personal feeling that one goes through. We cannot actually express through words. there is a lot more deep to talk about these topics. But there's so much sense of clarity that you gave that we can understand if we self-reflect on ourselves, if we look into ourselves into mirror and look into a little bit deep to understand what person, what human being are we. I'm 100% sure that we would all be maintaining our healthy relationships ahead. So thank you so much, Dr. Azra, for being here. It was wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. There was a lot to learn from you. Ended with the question, do we love ourselves?